It began with the kind of silence that doesn't belong in a crime scene. Detective Allison Gray had seen murders, gore, chaos, but never a room so perfectly arranged it felt designed. A coffee mug aligned with mathematical precision, a single droplet of blood placed exactly in the center of a white tile, and on the victim's chest, a folded note. Not written in panic, not written in haste, written like a report, a professional one. When Allison opened it, the room seemed to exhale. Victim was struck at 2:14 a.m. Blunt force trauma. Height difference, 11 inches. No defensive wounds. Case solvable. Signed, K.R.I. Killer's report, initial. Not a confession, not a message. A case report, written by the murderer about his own crime. It began with the kind of silence that doesn't belong in a crime scene, the kind that felt rehearsed, practiced, intentional. Detective Allison Gray had worked homicides for more than 11 years, and even the bloodiest scenes had a certain chaos. Piles knocked over, footprints blurred in panic, the smell of adrenaline lingering in the air. But this living room was immaculate, unnervingly neat. A lamp stood tilted, not randomly, but at an exact 30-degree angle. A coffee mug sat perfectly even with the table's edge. A blanket was folded in a geometric pattern, too symmetrical to be natural. And then there was the note, placed on the victim's chest as if it were part of the exhibit. Allison crouched down, slipping into her gloves with a practiced tug. The letter was folded with surgical precision. When she opened it, the handwriting hit her first. Clean, narrow, evenly spaced, like a man who respected order more than emotion. Victim was struck at 2:14 a.m. Blunt force trauma. Height difference, 11 inches. No defensive wounds. Case solvable. Initials at the bottom, K.R.I. Killer's report, initial. Not a confession, not a message, a case report, written by the murderer about his own crime. Allison studied the corners of the note. Sharp, no hesitation, no pressure marks. Whoever wrote this had calm hands, hands used to writing reports, hands that never shook. Marcus Shaw, her partner, leaned against the doorway. "This is sick. He's profiling himself." "No," Allison murmured. "He's bragging that he understands us." "What kind of killer writes his own analysis?" "The kind who wants to prove he's smarter than everyone." The kind Allison had seen before. 5 years ago, before the department quietly fired Keith Riddell, a forensic analyst who fell into an obsessive breakdown claiming he could commit the perfect murder and solve it better than anyone. He vanished shortly after. 3 months later, a drowned body surfaced near the state border. DNA matched, case closed. But Allison always felt something wasn't right. And now the initials, the tone, the precision, everything screamed Riddell. Except he was dead. 3 nights later, the second body appeared. A woman in her garage collapsed beside her car, her face edged with faint ligature marks. The space smelled like gasoline and cold metal, as if the killer sterilized the air after he left. Sitting neatly atop the hood was another note. More confident, more detailed, almost excited. Victim incapacitated at 0:45. Ligature indicates rapid loss of consciousness. Point of entry, back door. Lock compromised with professional precision. Victim predictable in evening routine. Case solvable. Again those final 2 words, case solvable. Marcus cursed behind her. "This bastard's mocking us." "Or teaching us," Allison said quietly, "like a lecture." They shared the same unspoken fear. Only someone who worked inside the department could know investigative procedures this deeply, could replicate them so perfectly. Someone who used to train detectives, someone who wrote the original manuals on crime scene reconstruction, someone like Keith Riddell. But corpses don't come back to teach lessons, unless his death was real, unless he staged that too. The third murder destroyed whatever doubt remained. It happened in an abandoned school miles outside the city. The building was cold, hollow, and soaked in decay, but something else lingered. A deliberate stillness orchestrated like a museum exhibit. The victim, a middle-aged man, lay on the floor with his hands placed symmetrically by his sides. His eyes were wide open, staring toward the chalkboard. On it, in the same perfect handwriting as the notes, was a message. "You're too slow, Allison."
Her pulse slammed into her ears. Marcus took a step back. "He knows your name. He knows who you are." "He always did," she whispered. Pinned to the man's shirt was the longest report yet. A full 2-page breakdown describing the murder, the weapon, the time, the body drop, even the psychological motive behind the selection of this victim. At the last line, Allison's stomach dropped. He hesitated for 2.7 seconds at death. Ask yourself why. As she read it again, she understood. The killer wasn't writing in third person. He was writing in first, about himself, about how he hesitated. This wasn't a persona. This wasn't a mask. This was a detective investigating his own crimes in real time, documenting them, analyzing them, critiquing them, trying to perfect them. The department tightened security. Internal Affairs opened silent investigations. Allison was restricted from going home alone, but she refused protection. She knew that if she hid, the killer would feel invincible. Instead, she dug through Riddell's old files, the ones everyone else wanted to forget. She found his training notes, his diagnostic methods, his obsession with perfect criminal symmetry, his breakdown reports, his last known cases. And then something chilling. Riddell never had a confirmed next of kin. No family, no funeral, no actual witness of the body being identified. Just a forensic report signed by one man, a coroner later fired for falsifying documents. The pieces clicked together with nauseating clarity. Riddell didn't drown. He disappeared. And after 5 years, he came back. Not as a man, but as an analyst of his own violence. The breakthrough came from something small, a single hair recovered from the third crime scene. DNA confirmed 2 things at once. It matched Riddell. The sample showed signs of medical recovery consistent with someone alive now, not 5 years ago. He was alive. Somewhere. Close. And he was watching them. The fourth murder was the message he'd been preparing all along. A fellow detective, someone Allison worked with for years, found dead in the station's parking lot. A note taped to his badge. "You looked in the wrong file, Allison." The brutality was different this time. Quicker, angrier. Riddell was losing patience. Or maybe losing control. Marcus pulled Allison aside. "He's escalating. You're next. You understand that, right?" She did. And strangely, she knew that was exactly what she needed. Because hunters always show themselves when the prey stops running. 2 nights later, she left a file on her desk. A fake one, detailing a false analysis, suggesting they found a new lead on him. She left the door unlocked, turned off the lights, and sat silently in the dark corner and waited. At 2:14 a.m., the same time as the first murder, she heard the doorknob turn. Keith Riddell stepped inside the room. Older, thinner, eyes hollow but sharp, a ghost made of discipline and calculation. He approached the fake file and opened it. His eyebrows tightened in disapproval. "You misinterpreted the angle," he said, almost conversationally. "You always struggled with angles, Allison." She stepped from the shadows. "No," she said softly. "I struggled with believing you were dead." He smiled, thin, brittle. "I had to start over somewhere. The department held me back." "You killed 4 people. I documented them." He lifted a new note, ready to place it on the file. "I was improving, every case solvable, every pattern traceable." "You're insane." "No," he whispered. "I'm perfecting." She drew her gun. For the first time, his expression cracked. "I wanted you to understand the method, the structure, the order. We could have solved them together." "You weren't solving anything. You were murdering people to write reports about yourself." He took a slow step toward her. "I have one last report to finish." And then he lunged. A single shot echoed through the precinct. Riddell fell, hitting the floor exactly at a perfect angle, as if he had planned even that. In his hand, still clenched, was his final note. Case solvable.